Welcome to Wrestling with Heart, a podcast looking at pro wrestlers giving back to their community. Join me, Stanley Carr, as I interview wrestling's hottest names who use their platforms as entertainers to raise awareness and do community service. Hello, and welcome to another edition of Wrestling with Heart. This is the show where we talk with professional wrestlers and professional wrestling personalities about their lives in and outside of the ring, as well as doing acts of charity work, community service, and volunteering, just spreading positivity. We're always about the positive vibes here on the show. And I've got not one, but I've got two guests with me this week. First, she is a professional wrestler, actress, model, podcaster, author. She's wrestled for numerous companies: WCW, TNA, AAA, Ring of Honor, multi-time women's champion, April Hunter. And I've got with me professional wrestler and actor Luke Robert. Thank you both for joining me here today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. So let's get things started here. Let's talk about both of your upbringings in childhood. Where did you grow up?
Luke, you want to do that?
I think I'm the least interesting of the two. I grew up in rural Maine, small town, about 2,000 people. Nothing spectacular about my childhood. I went to a small high school, and the biggest event's a little agricultural fair called the Common Ground Fair. So that's the big event in my town. Now, April's got a decent story that involves, I think, many cities and many countries. And
so you've lived all over the country.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've lived a lot of places. We were military, so we got shifted and it never failed. We got shifted midway through the school year every freaking time. So it made for made for interesting school years, and I got into a lot of fights.
Jeez. That had to have been hard.
It was extremely hard to, uproot and leave your friends and then go through and start over again. And, kids are mean. So everybody's like, oh, look at the new girl, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So we dealt with a lot.
But where were you born?
I was born in Philadelphia.
Okay.
Yeah. So I consider that home primarily. So even though we're all over, so that's my primary, I guess. Yeah.
Well, going from city to city and state to state, you get to see a lot of stuff and witness a lot of stuff. And like you had mentioned, you got into fights with a lot of people. I mean, that had to have been crazy.
Yeah, you learn a lot. You learn a lot. And I honestly think that having, I had I did not have an idyllic upbringing. My dad, my dad was an alcoholic bipolar, and my mom was autistic. So we did not have a calm, wonderful household. And I'm grateful for all of this upheaval and craziness, because I feel like dealing with that and learning how to navigate all of that and all of that travel and having to be so independent all the time is kind of what made me successful in life later. If it had been easy for me, I think that when things got really hard, I wouldn't know how to handle it. But once you've been through like some really tough stuff, you're just like, oh, it's kind of like working it's kind of like working in Japan and nobody speaks English. And when you come home, everybody speaks English and you're like, oh, I can do this match. It's not a problem. It's kind of the same thing. Like when you've been through really, really rough stuff, when things come through that are hard, but not as bad as that, you're like, oh, I can do this. I've been through worse. So
yeah, it's kind of important to keep that mindset going every time. So that aggression really kind of sparked the flames to get into professional wrestling. Were you a fan growing up? Was that something you just later caught on?
I wasn't a fan growing up. I was more of a lot of martial arts, Bruce Lee, MMA. Like I was put in karate when I was 10 or 11 years old and just kept going with that. Wrestling to me wasn't really a thing, but I fell into it later. So yeah, I think underneath it all, that's sort of what started the slow burn for wrestling.
Definitely a lot of discipline involved in wrestling and in martial arts. It
Oh
teaches
yeah,
you so many
yeah.
things. It just
Oh yeah.
intertwines. Luke, tell me about your upbringing.
It's pretty much unremarkable. Like I said, I stayed in one town for most of my childhood, and um, yeah, a single mom. But I think I got lucky. I think a lot of people deal with a lot of childhood trauma having two parents. So I think I got lucky just having the one. Uh, yeah, but one thing that really sticks out about my childhood is when I was in high school, a lot of the coaches and teachers kind of took to me. I think because I had a single mom, and they wanted me to do well, and they kind of were role models and uh, father figures and such. So um, I had a lot of good people around me guiding me on a better path, probably than I was set for.
Hmm.
So,
Now,
but yeah,
were you a big wrestling fan growing up? How did you get interested?
a huge wrestling fan. As soon as I came out of the womb, my aunts and uncles. It was what was on TV in the late '80s, mid '80s. So Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage, of course, all those big names, Ultimate Warrior. And then you lose it, you fall out of love with it for a little bit, then you find it again, maybe in your teens. So Stone Cold, The Rock, NWO, of course. Yeah, that's the type of wrestling I love. I love all that, like the over the top characters, the wild stunts.
Hmm. Hope you didn't get into any fist fights in school over anything.
Sometimes when you're a smart mouth kid, and I was a little bit too clever for my own good, so I'd come up with these witty little things I thought. Sometimes I was put in my place, and I think that helps too. Like, you got to know where you stand in life, and sometimes you got to get beat up or not beat up. Just let people know that hey, that behavior isn't okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
Checked. You
nothing.
got to get checked.
Right. Checked. Yeah, it was nothing. It wasn't. There was no injuries. Nothing permanent. Uh, which is funny. Like I'm not a good fist fighter, but I was a really good amateur high school wrestler. So, but fist fighting and some running my mouth, that was never my thing.
No trash talking.
Oh, I'm an excellent trash
Oh, he's
talker.
a good trash talker.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Okay. So it's interesting that both of you kind of came from different paths in terms of how you got into the business, but I know that it's very, very tough to break into that industry. Um, Coming from somebody that's doing martial arts or somebody that's just getting into it just because you were a fan growing up, it's not easy. Tell me about the training process for the both of you.
Oh, good Lord, it was the worst thing ever. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. I had to relocate from Las Vegas to Boston, the oldest city in, the newest city in the country, to the oldest city in the country, where I couldn't even, one outlet in every room. I'm trying to work. Um, and the training felt like I had been through the worst CrossFit workout ever, and then a car wreck. I was T-boned right afterwards for like a year. It was horrible, and that's even before I went through any of the political lessons that come with being in professional wrestling. There's a reason why a lot of people get out of wrestling and go into politics and become very successful. It is a hard lesson to learn, but it was mentally tough. It was physically tough. It was really hard. It's really, really hard.
Oh, I'm
I don't
sure.
know. I don't know. Maybe Luke had an easier time with it. I was the only girl in my class, and I think it was just as hard for the guys too. I don't think it
Oh,
had
yeah.
anything to do with gender. It was just really brutally tough.
So I had a completely different experience than you, April. I went to a small indie wrestling school. You went to Killer Kowalski's, which is like the real deal, old school. And I went to like a brand new, our wrestling ring didn't even have real padding. It was real like Bush League, I think you could say. And I was a very competitive 14-year-old kid. in a room with a bunch of
Men.
men, but they weren't like they're kind of like middle-aged men. They were just like not in their prime. And me, I'm a amateur wrestler, so I don't mind doing squats and push-ups. And if I can't beat you, I'm gonna come close to beating you.
Mm.
So I was actually I found wrestling school to be pretty easy, but probably because I wasn't being taught right. So
I wish I'd gone where you were. No, I don't. I don't. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But it was it was brutal. Killer Kowalski's was brutal. I was in there with
also,
the
I
yeah.
think I was so passionate about it that the pain, like we did 500 squats and your legs are jello, but I didn't mind. I didn't mind. I thought, man, this is awesome. I'm chasing my dream. Yeah. So
This is awesome. Yeah, I did not ever feel that way. So no.
Well, Killer Kowalski, he's like a legend, and I mean, he's trained some of the greats.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And in my class also, who was in my class? Eddie Edwards, Nikki Rocks eventually. She came a year later. Aaron Stevens or Damian Sandow. I'm trying to think who else was in there. I know I'm probably missing a name or two. Sumie Sakai. Oh, I know there's more. I'm just blanking at the moment, but
did you
yeah,
say you trained with Kazarian?
I did. Yeah, sorry. Frankie Kazarian. Oh yeah, John Cena too. Because I know I'm missing a name or two. Yeah, Kazarian and John Cena would go back and forth from UPW to Kowalski's. We did an exchange. I went out to UPW as well. So yep, Kazarian, and then yeah, we had a really good setup going for the school, and then being able to go East Coast, West Coast too.
Get that experience, you learn from both sides of the country.
Hmm.
Any particular pieces of advice from your trainers that you picked up early on that still kind of stuck with you from the beginning?
You want to go?
Uh so again, I started off with like super bush league training. And I think as you go, you meet new people, you start training with new people. So I guess the best advice I got was probably from Scott Hall. And when I was training with him down in Orlando, he said, "Hey man, this is how I did it. It's not gonna work the same for you. So take what you think is will work, put that in your tool bag, and keep going. Because how I did it's not gonna work for you, but some of the stuff that worked for me will work for you." So I think that was the best advice or best insight as far as like we're not gonna be Scott Hall, we're not gonna be Hulk Hogan, we're gonna be ourselves, and we're gonna pick and choose and become who we're gonna become.
Pretty good advice, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got to be
Um,
unique.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kowalski used to always he would stand up and yell at us, "Make the people notice you." Now he had so many different things. He also had a sign up on the wall that said "can't," circle line through it. He's like, "There's only one 4-letter word that is a truly bad word, and it's can't." He goes, "Do not use it. It has no place in anybody's vocabulary."
I know a couple bad 4-letter words.
Oh, really?
I can't say them on this one, but yeah.
I always think swears are the salt and pepper of the English language, and the words that are actually truly bad that cause real damage. For some reason, we are just fine with those, like divorce, Parkinson's, cancer. We can say that all day long, but F word, C word, people have a real problem with that. Even though it doesn't actually hurt anyone. Never made sense to me. But yeah, can't is I totally understand that now more than I did when I was in my 20s. So yeah, he was a big believer that we manifest our lives. He was everything that we think, whether we think we can or we can't, it's correct. That was his belief.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to have that mindset going into it, because this is something you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And you start training, start putting in the work, and eventually you're called up to work for WCW as one of the NWO girls Tell me about that experience.
Well, I actually started with them first, through having done Playboy. And then when I was there for a little while, they wanted me to become trained. And Terry Taylor called Jim Ross and had me go over to WWE, and WWE sent me to Killer Kowalski's. So it was a little bit of it was a unique path that was kind of unusual for
Oh, so
wrestlers to have taken.
it was the
So
reverse.
yeah, so
I gotcha.
I was in there, and then I went backwards, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, I was up and then went down. So yes, so that's what happened. I left to get fully trained. And while I was getting fully trained, ECW and WCW folded. And WWE was busy trying to figure out what contracts they were going to keep, who they were going to let go, all of that. So when it came time to wrestle, I ended up working in Japan and Canada and Mexico and Puerto Rico, and just working overseas a lot, England. So that's what I
Yeah.
did.
I mean, overseas is a whole nother culture onto itself compared to
Yeah.
the US.
Oh yeah.
Not only do you learn a new language, but you meet new people. The styles are different. I mean, tell me
Yeah.
about that.
It was probably that's the single greatest thing about wrestling that I've been afforded, is being able to travel the world on someone else's money. And you're right, you do work different styles. So, like in Mexico, everything is 2 out of 3 falls match. With the psychology, it's broken down kind of like ours, where the first match is the babyface outshine, the middle part is the heat, the third match is the heel comeback. But we don't know that until you go down there and really participate in it. In
Mhm.
Japan, it's all about heart. So you're trying to win or you're trying not to lose. And they don't cheer for the big moves. They cheer for when you kick out of the big moves. So it's very different. In England, it's a lot of they really like a lot of the old school stuff. It's like a lot of come on, like classic baby face, classic hero, anti-hero stuff. So you learn all these different styles working in all these different places. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, but you're working with people who don't speak any English. Wrestling is a universal language. You learn a lot.
Yeah.
And while you're there, you get days off. You can wander the cities, try new foods, visit strange things, visit strange lands, meet interesting people, speak foreign languages. Yeah. So
Do you feel that some of those styles from around the world have translated well to the US?
I do. It's more popular now, the Japanese and the lucha style, than when I was trying to bring it back. But that strong style and that lucha style 20 years ago, when I was playing around with it and coming back with it, and people are just like, huh? Because you had to get these underground tapes of women, and the Yoshi tapes and
They
things like
tape
that.
traders, yes.
Yeah, now, you talk to any real wrestling fan and everybody knows Yoshi and all the you know, the lucha. They're all experienced. You have that one hardcore fan that only watches WWE and like whatever. But then you have the real fans who watch the indies and the other stuff and the overseas, and they know the Japanese wrestling. They know IWA Puerto Rico. Like they watch everything, and they're a lot more wrestling educated now than they used to be.
I definitely think technology and the internet's played a role in the evolution of how you consume
Right,
wrestling nowadays. And I think
right.
that's helped educate fans on the different styles and the different companies and
Yes.
just everything in between. Luke, what about you? Tell me about your experiences in the ring. I know you mentioned to me a while ago you did some extra work for AEW and Impact.
Yeah, so my real prime in wrestling was probably 2010, 11, 12. I wrestled over in England a bunch, Canada, all around the United States, Oregon, Florida, New Jersey, wherever, Illinois. Uh, but I just fell out of love with wrestling. I enjoyed it when I started when I was 14. And I'm 38 now. So in 2012, I was like, I don't know, must be close to 30. So I kind of fell out of love with it. Um, because like what April was saying, the style that is popular now, 20 years after I started, is the style I wanted to do. The lucha libre,
Yep. Exciting style.
uh, yeah, it's that.
Athletic.
In New England, as April can attest, is a very old school.
Boring. Sorry.
Yeah. Well,
Classic and old
classic
school.
type of thing.
Yeah. We wanted to fly, right? We wanted to fly off the top ropes.
Right, like if you did a big splash back when I came in, it was like, wow, that's crazy. But it's like I could do a 450 splash, I could do moonsaults, I knew all this crazy stuff, and you were kind of reined in, saying, "Hey, don't do so much, kid." And it's like we can make the matches cool as well as fundamentally sound and storytelling makes sense. Um, so about my experiences, I did a match in '09 for Ring of Honor. Um, I've done extra work at Impact. My buddy Jimmy Jacobs was the producer there, writer. He's now at AEW. Um, and then I just did some extra work at AEW. I sat around eating some of the best catering I've ever had and watching the live event with Sting about 10 feet away from me watching the same event. So as a 12-year-old kid, it was awesome. As a pro wrestler, I would have liked to have been in the ring getting my ass kicked.
Yeah,
I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. I mean, you've
I'm
definitely
laughing. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, definitely sounds like you've had a very interesting experience in that world. I mean, that's so amazing.
What I undersell myself a little bit, but I wrestled Kenny Omega. I've wrestled Eddie Edwards several times. I could Robbie E, Honky Tonk Man, Tito Santana, this Seth Rollins. Jeez, I wrestled for the NWA World Junior Heavyweight title. But the coolest stuff is the stuff like when you're at TV, I think, or when you're in another country experiencing something new.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like that. It's good to get different styles. As I said earlier, learning different styles, unique. April, what about you? Any favorite opponents you've wrestled over the years?
Oh, lots of them. It really depends. I worked at Weston Busick in Germany, Outcast Killers in New England, and Ring of Honor. Had some really great matches with them. Because I was one of the only females to hold the male tag team titles, so I had male tag team matches. So like in Ring of Honor, I did a series with Outcast Killers, and that was a lot of fun. Let's see who else. Lacey, lovely Lacey. She was a very underratedly good wrestler. Even if you're having a bad day, she could still make you look like you're having a good day. So yeah, there's a lot of really. We didn't, when I was there, I wrestled a lot of guys because there weren't a lot of girls, and a lot of them weren't well trained. So I ended up and plus I'm a taller, bigger girl. So they at that point they put me up against men quite often, which I liked because the guys were well trained, so I could do things with them and do some more like lucha flying moves, a lot of the Japanese or like more Spanish style, and they would be able to base for me, and we could have some more exciting matches.
Yeah, it's definitely different compared to wrestling. If you're a woman wrestling another woman, or a guy wrestling another guy, it's different when it's an intergender.
And yeah, they don't do that anymore with this whole, women and the violence and the this, that, the other. They don't. I noticed when I was on my way out, they started pulling back with that because they're like, men shouldn't hit women. We can't promote that. It's like it's pro wrestling, but they didn't want to. They started doing all the hands off with that. I'm like, oh, okay. So yeah. I get it, I understand, but at the end of the day, if you want equal rights and equality, if you should just consider us wrestlers, like we're just going in the ring, like, that's actually one of the things I liked about Kill City Cup is they had the competitors there. Everybody could compete, didn't matter what gender you were. Everybody just went in there and fought.
Yeah, let's get into that. You guys both are in a new movie called Kill City Cop. It's got a lot of people in there, a lot of wrestlers. Tell me about the premise of the movie and how it all came together.
It's basically every Illuminati conspiracy you can think of rolled into a Mortal Kombat, Tekken, and wrap that up in WWE 1998. So it's a post-apocalyptic future. It's gone to hell. The Great War has depleted all the natural resources, and this politician has come in. He's a businessman, and he's gonna make it. Ha 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 ha! And he's forcing all these people that are enslaved to him to fight for the amusement of the other civilians. And if they win, which is almost impossible in the Kill City Cup, if you win, you get to ask one favor. So that could be for your freedom. That could be for to live in the nice part of town. Really, isn't that nice? You could ask for anything. But it came together over the years. I was on all these indie shows, and I just noticed there's a lack of production, a lack of unique characters. There's a lot of guys in trunks, this black trunks, Stone Cold style, Randy Orton style, The Rock. I said, what if we get guys in costumes like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, and we still did awesome wrestling stuff like Lucha Libre, Super J-Cup from Japan, and we made it more heavy act. Yeah, fun. We don't need rest holds. We don't need 90-second submission holds where the crowd's gonna clap for us to come back. We could just make it fun, make it silly, make it lighthearted, make it cheesy. So that's basically what happened. I talked to my friends enough, and my friends happened to be Jimmy Jacobs, Matt Seidel, Brian Cage. Somehow I got April Hunter's number, which was wild because as a 12-year-old, I was like, man, I seen you on TV, and now do you want to be a part of my wacky idea? And April didn't bat an eyelash at it. She just said, yeah, sure. I think you were like, what time do you need me there?
Yeah. I was like, oh, you're letting me dress up like a warrior? Yeah, sure, I'll be there.
And that was the thing too. It wasn't heavily planned, but like some guys, Brian Cage had 4 or 5 different characters he might have been. Jimmy Jacobs, we had a vague idea that he was going to be like this rebel. Matt Seidel, he was a neo shaman. He was a wizard with an all-seeing eye.
Perfect for him.
Yeah, perfect. I'm trying to think of some of the other wacky stuff we had in there.
You had
Mad Scientist.
Yep. Leon of the Wasteland.
Leon of the Wasteland, a mercenary, which April was part of his entourage, his stable. And they were kind of just traveling. They were serving Mr. Kill, the evil CEO, the evil businessman, the evil politician. They were traveling through Kill City in the outskirts, just doing the deeds of the leader of Kill City. And I'd like to go deeper into that story in a future like prequel to see how they all met up. But for the Kill City Cop, it's very lighthearted. There's not a lot of depth to the characters. It's very archetypal. Any other way you could explain it, April?
No, I think you explained it perfectly. It's I think it's like comic book characters plus video games meet wrestling. Pour in some conspiracy theories. I think that's there you go. It's perfect.
We wanted it heavy on the look, heavy on the characters looking cool, heavy on big moves and cool moves, and corny, cheesy 1998 video game commentary.
Yeah, I mean, gotta love like comic book culture come to life, and it's amazing with all your favorite types of entertainment rolled into one. It's unbelievable. It's crazy. Why don't we switch gears now and talk about some of the charitable and stuff you've done outside of wrestling, things you've done outside of wrestling. What kinds of organizations or things that you've done in your community that you'd like to share with us?
I'm constantly like, if you have a birthday and you do one of those Facebook, hey, donate for my birthday, I do it. I just donated to April's Humane
Yeah.
Society in Pinellas Park for her birthday. I'm all about life has given me a lot of opportunities and a lot of things I probably didn't deserve. So I don't mind giving back. Um, every year for my birthday, I hate receiving gifts. I dislike receiving gifts, and my birthday is around Christmas. And I know how hard that can be on people that don't have the financial means and they're trying to make something out of very little. So I ask people to donate to a fundraiser every year through my nonprofit branch of life, and whatever's donated, I'll match 100%. So last year, I think we ended up doing $6,500 in donations, and I gave that to the local community action program to help with heating assistance. I'm from Maine originally, and the winters up here are brutal. It can get into the
Oh, yeah.
negatives, and a lot of senior citizens, a lot of people just uh, one bad choice, two bad choices, and they don't have that, or maybe it's just bad luck, whatever it is. And I was inspired to do that through my high school English teacher, who she was all about giving back to the community. She loved Waldo County, so every year she would raise money to give back. And unfortunately, she passed away from cancer a handful of years ago, I'd say now, and I wanted to pick up that slack. So that's what I do every year, consistently. Is I raise money for that cause. I have 3 scholarships that I give out every year at my old high school. One in honor of my high school English teacher, another in honor of my uncle who recently passed away, and another one for what. But again, I'm always trying to help out whenever I can. I started a nonprofit. We gave away 10 or 15 backpacks this year for back to school and stuffed them with supplies. It's crazy how much backpacks are going for nowadays too.
Wow. Yeah. It's nuts.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then I put on these local wrestling events sometimes, and we donate 100% of what the profit is. And the wrestlers all wrestle for free. They'll even donate money and go into the community and get sponsors to help out. So that's what I'm about. I'm about helping out the community. I'm especially small town Maine, the military, just whenever I can or whenever the opportunity presents itself.
Yeah. April?
No, that's awesome. Well, I kind of do what Luke does to some degree. I kind of help out whenever I can, whenever the opportunity presents itself. I've been a long time foster for animals. So
Oh, wow.
one of mine's right here. So
Aw.
I I currently have 3. But I'm also the because I work for 3 different rescues where I foster. And Luke, thank you very much. He For my birthday, he donated to one of my rescues. And then I'm also considered the crazy chicken lady in the city. So I pick up the chickens that nobody wants, or the roosters, and anybody that needs to rehome, and I'll hang on to them for as long as I can, or take care of them, or find them a home, or whatever. So I'm one of those people. So
Farm girl.
yeah, well, yeah, kind of. And then also I don't have kids, so um I've written a children's book, and I donate every year. We do a Toys for Tots drive, and try and collect as much, because um my parents managed to hold it together. It was a rough upbringing, like I said, but every year they made Christmas as special for us as humanly possible. So when I grew up with, being my dad being military, we lived on one military paycheck, and we got what we needed, not what we wanted. But at Christmas time, they made it work. They went all out, and it was a big deal. And I remember how that felt to have things under the tree when all year long we didn't get anything, and for my mom to be baking, and to have something to open. And so doing that for people who don't have much is kind of a big deal, since
Yeah.
so that's
Especially,
yeah,
especially
that's my thing. And then currently also I have a podcast, The A Show, and what we do is we are neutral. we don't take any sides. We are nonpartisan, and we do a lot of research and have on a lot of people who donate their time to come on and help with whatever's going on currently, to help people understand what's going on. And I would say we bring the missing information to the people, because a lot of people, well, we are not ever really told the whole story of things. We're told things out of context. We aren't given enough information to make educated decisions. So what we do each week is do as much as we humanly can with real research and real experts. We bring them on to fill in the blanks for what people need to know.
Yeah, it's always good to learn as much as you can about stuff, even if it's something that you don't necessarily agree with, but you learn different sides of every story that possible. So
Right.
it's interesting. And you had mentioned you have a book out too. Tell me about that. How did that get started?
Oh, that was a school project. Actually, I went back to school, so I have it's called Monty, A Tale of No Tale. It's based
Okay.
on the Hans Christian Andersen Ugly Duckling, and it's
Hmm.
about how the queen gets a corgi. It was kind of based off of one of my own corgis, because you can rescue purebred dogs. So I know a lot of people have a thing for corgis and Frenchies and everything else right now. There are purebred rescues. A lot of them do have degenerative health issues. So, but if you are willing to work with that, a lot of them have been surrendered, and I've had 3 corgis that have had health issues because of that. But yeah, it was kind of inspired by my corgi and my chickens, and it's about how the queen got one of her corgis, and basically because he had no tail and short legs, he was living on a farm and he was considered ugly, and everybody picked on him, and he learned that he had to go somewhere else. He was not in the right place at the right time, where his talents and his look would be more useful. So there are places where you can go where not having a tail and having short legs is very beneficial. Unfortunately, that farm was not it, but sometimes you just have to go where you're appreciated. Doesn't mean that you're ugly. It just means you're not in your right spot. So
Very cool little twist on the classic fairy tale.
yeah.
So it's pretty cool to hear about that. Why do you guys feel passionate about helping out in your community?
I think because when I was younger, again, I was raised by a single mom, and my grandmother helped out a lot, but you didn't have a ton of stuff. Like I remember running out of heating oil for whatever reason.
Mm.
Christmas, getting donated toys one Christmas. I think not having stuff makes you want to make sure that other people do have.
I've been exceptionally fortunate, and I feel very, very lucky to be so blessed. So if there's something I can do to help, I will.
Well, this has been wonderful to have the both of you on the show, and it means a lot to me and my listeners. So I just want to say thank you for coming on the podcast. Where can people find you both on social media?
You can find the Kill City Cup project on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram at Kill City Cup. Please enjoy Kill City Cup. It's the silliest, corniest, wackiest, wildest, weirdest, over the top pro wrestling you'll ever watch. And I do thank you for making this work for me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, you can Kill City Cup, you can find that anywhere, and highly recommend it. It is an hour not wasted checking it out. And for me, you can find me Instagram, Real April Hunter, Twitter, April Hunter, the A Show on Twitch, and Patreon, April Hunter. I'm super easy to find. Just look up April Hunter or Real April Hunter, and that's me. Voila.
All right. Thank you both again. You're more than welcome to come back.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, again, it's my pleasure.
Awesome.
All right. See you later. Thank you.
All right. Have a good night.
You too.
This is Wrestling with Heart. I hope you found this podcast to be informative and entertaining. If you did, please hit the subscribe button and look out for the next edition.